You're too pure for this wicked world. Your data's uncorrupted, but does some...
Hi there, welcome back to My Hot Kitchen. For tonight's Hot Night In, I'm going to be showing you how to whip up a romantic dinner for your sweetie with an Italian flair. You'll have a whole lot of fun cooking this meal, and I bet you look great doing it too. So let's get cracking on our Shrimp Primavera, grilled eggplant, and fresh homemade breadsticks. So I already prepped up my garlic and my leeks, and that just leaves me with the Roma tomatoes and the bell pepper. So I'm going to start by breaking down the tomatoes, scooping out the ends there that I don't want. And then slicing them all in half. And then the next thing I'm going to do is pulp a couple of them. I'm just going to stick my finger in 4 of the halves and squeeze out all the extra goop that's inside the tomato. I'm just going to do this to 2 of them so that I have the perfect mix of sauciness and chunkiness in my Primavera sauce. Make sure you have a little dish right next to you so this is a quick and easy process. All right, and for the rest of them, I'm just going to dice them all up. There's no shortage of vegetables that you can use for this particular sauce. I happen to really enjoy this flavor combination, and it always makes me think of summer. One more run through these and I'll have a nice coarse dice. Now I'm moving on to the bell pepper after this. Begin by taking off the top and peeling out the core on the inside. The seeds too. Now I probably won't need this whole pepper for this sauce, so I'm just going to take the brightly colored parts. So those parts are going to have the best flavor and they're going to look the prettiest. And I'm going to dice those up a little bit smaller than I diced up the tomatoes. Beautiful. All right, and now I'm ready to take these over to the other side and start sauteing them. All right, and now I'm ready to saute. So I'm going to add my 4 cloves of garlic that I've made into nice little slices. And my 1 leek, cut into nice thick slices. Remember, we want the vegetables to sort of speak for themselves. And the bell pepper. And give this a little flip. Now what you want to see is for the vegetables to develop a level of translucency without being browned. All right, and we've achieved a level of translucency now that's good for me. So now I'm going to go ahead and add my 4 large sliced mushrooms. Just going to give these a little flash here in the pan. What you want to do is just sort of coat the mushrooms with the olive oil and the flavors of the vegetables and a little bit of fresh cracked pepper. You don't really want them to cook at this point. Rather, you want them to impart their flavor into the oils. Alrighty, and go ahead and add the tomatoes at this point. And then add a little bit of white wine. And at this point, scrape up any brown spots that may have formed on the bottom of your pan, because that holds a lot of flavor in there. All right, and once the wine is cooked out most of the way, go ahead and sprinkle a generous amount of basil over the tops of the vegetables. And just a little tiny bit of salt at this point. You don't want to over salt it too early. As it cooks, the flavors concentrate and so does the saltiness. So put a lid on it and let it simmer for about half an hour. And now we're moving on to the breadsticks. So I've got 2/3 a cup, actually a scant 2/3 a cup, which means I poured 2/3 a cup of water and then poured just a little tiny bit of it out, of warm water, not hot, not cold, but warm, and 1.5 teaspoons of active dry instant yeast. I'm going to whisk these together for a moment until the yeast is all dissolved. And this is going to help the yeast to sort of activate. All right. To that, I'm going to add a couple tablespoons of olive oil and a 1/2 teaspoon of salt. And whisk that together. And then in my handy dandy mixer, I'm going to add 2 cups of flour. Well, almost 2 cups. I'm going to reserve a little bit. And I'm going to add my liquid. Pulse this together for a moment to combine it. Now I'm going to add the rest of my liquids. A little bit more light pulsing action to blend this together. And then I'm going to take it out and finish it by hand. So I'm going to put a little flour on my counter, nice little pile. And I'm going to just pop this out onto the counter. Fish the blade out of it. And then I'm going to sprinkle a whole bunch more flour over the top, and I'm just going to knead this by hand for a few moments until my dough becomes nice and smooth and stretchy. Beautiful. All right, now it's nice and stretchy and not too sticky, so I'm just going to give myself a little space to work with. And then I'm going to come back over here. Now I'm going to cut off golf ball sized pieces of dough, and I'm going to roll them in my hands into long little loaves. Recoating with flour as needed to keep them from sticking to my fingers. And then I'm going to stretch it out when I place it on the baking sheet for the final shaping. Beautiful. So these are fun and easy little breadsticks to whip up. This breadstick recipe also doubles as a great pizza recipe. Because there's so much yeast in there, you really don't need to give these a lot of time to rise. Once you've rolled them all out, you can pop them in your oven. I've got mine set at 375 degrees, and I'm going to bake them for 10 minutes. So the bread's had 10 minutes now to form. So now I'm going to pull it out of the oven and give it a little decoration and flavor. And I'm going to do that by brushing it with garlic butter. So I've got a stick of butter here with about 4 giant cloves of garlic crushed into it. I'm just going to brush that across the surface of each one of these little bad boys. So the reason for the breadsticks is that when I feed my husband pasta, he always wants a good bread to go with it. I can't blame him, they go together. So I get a little creative with it. Next, sprinkle with a little bit of basil or herbs of your choice. Be quite liberal with it. And then a little bit of Romano cheese. I'm being as purposeful as I can here, trying to get the cheese to sit right on top of the bread. You can always substitute another type of Italian cheese if you like. I happen to really enjoy the flavor of Romano, and I think it's the best out of all of them. These are ready to go back in the oven for about another 10 minutes. And now it's time to make some grilled eggplant. So I'm going to fire up my grill here, and I'm going to slice some eggplant. Eggplant is a very interesting food. It has a unique texture and a unique flavor. And come on, how many vegetables are purple? Its good hearty texture gives it great consistency on the grill. So I'm going to go ahead and just spread these out here for a moment so I can spread them with the garlic love, also known as garlic butter. Fun little fact about eggplant is that it's actually a brain food. It contains vital nutrients that are essential to your brain's function. So if you want to impress your sweetie with your intelligence, eat a little eggplant. Pop these on the grill over here, butter side down first. And I'll go ahead and brush this with garlic butter again. So now you can see why I made so much garlic butter. Because I'm going to use it for both the breadsticks and the eggplant. And as I get down to the bottom, I'm able to find those chunks of garlic that are in the butter, and I'm going to go ahead and go back and layer those on the tops of these tasty little eggplant slices for extra flavor. All right, these just need to grill for a few minutes on each side till they're done. So I can see that some of my eggplant is ready for the flip. That looks really delicious. Yummy. Ooh. Getting away from me. There we go. I'm gonna love them up with just a touch more of this garlic butter. Outstanding. So now that I've got my water up to a full rolling boil, I'm going to go ahead and drop in my pasta. To that I'm going to add a generous amount of salt and a generous amount of olive oil, just to make sure the pasta tastes right. That's going to need to cook for about 7 minutes. And let's check on the sauce while we're over here too. That is beautiful. You can see that the vegetables have started to break down a little bit, but they're still maintaining their own individual characteristics. All right, so the breadsticks have had a few minutes to melt the cheese on them. So I'm going to pull them out of the oven and take them off the pan and put them in a nice little dish with a cloth in it. And yeah, I'm going to bring that delicious cheese with it. Yummy. Whew, these are a little hot. Just going to cover them up so that they stay fresh, and I'm going to go back over here, and it's time to drain the pasta. One final stir before I dump it all out. Out you go. Flash it briefly with some cool water to stop it from cooking. Shake out that water. Put it back in the pan. going to toss this with a little bit of olive oil so the noodles don't stick to each other. In the meantime, I'm going to add the shrimp into the Primavera. It only needs a few minutes to cook. So you want to do this as one of your very last things for this meal. I like to fold them in. Then I'm going to put the lid on it so you can see that they're already starting to cook. And cook them just to the point that they turn pink. All right, and while that finishes, I'm going to go ahead and pop over here and take the grilled eggplant off the grill and plate it. Careful, this is hot. And to that, I'm going to scoop the pasta onto the plate now. Alrighty, and the shrimp is done, so I'm just going to give my sauce a little bit of a taste here. Yummy. I'm going to add just a touch of salt to it. Just a touch of fresh cracked pepper. Quick little stir. That'll do the trick. And I'm good to scoop these onto the plate. Beautiful, beautiful, beautiful. Grab a little bit more of the sauce out of the pan here. Move on to the other one. Beautiful. Top these off with a little bit of freshly grated Romano. My sweetie's gonna love these. These are ready to go on the table. So romance and Italian foods are synonymous, and now you've made that experience in your very own kitchen. The only thing missing is a nice Chianti and your sweetie. So call in your sweetheart. Ciao, apron. Where is my darling?
Here I am.
Yay! Mangia, mangia.
Yes.
Mangia, mangia.
Very nice. Let's see. There we go.
Oh, thank you.
Try this. This is one hot kitchen. Yummy.
So thanks for joining me in my hot kitchen. Have a great time with your date night, and I'll see you next week. Night night.
You're too pure for this wicked world.